There's a reason she looked at you that way and then pulled back. A reason she laughs at your jokes, lingers in conversation, but never makes the first move. You think she's unsure, but the truth is she's waiting. Waiting to see if you'll step into the role she's silently inviting you to take. Because deep down, every woman, especially a younger one drawn to an older man, feels something powerful. Curiosity mixed with caution. She wants to know if you're different, if you see her beyond the surface, if you can read what she's not saying. But here's what most men get wrong. They either rush in with too much energy or hesitate until the moment is gone. They miss the subtle signs, the unspoken cues, the quiet yes in her eyes that disappears the moment you overthink. What she's drawn to isn't your words, your looks, or your status. It's your energy, your presence, your certainty. It's how you hold yourself when she tests your patience, how you stay calm when she withdraws, how you command space without trying to impress her. This video will change how you read attraction forever. You'll learn what younger women actually mean when they stay close but say little. You'll see how their silence speaks, how their behavior reveals far more than their words ever could. And by the end, you'll know exactly how to move. Not with desperation, not with arrogance, but with grounded confidence that pulls her in naturally. Stay till the end, because once you understand this, you'll never chase attention again. You'll attract it, effortlessly, powerfully, and with a level of awareness that most men never reach. You see, when a younger woman looks at you and asks, "So, what are you looking for in a woman?" It sounds like an innocent question, right? But it's not. It's a test, subtle, calculated, and psychological. It's her way of measuring where your power lies. Does it lie within you, or does it depend on her reaction? That one question is not about your answer, it's about your energy in that moment. Most men miss this completely. They think it's an opportunity to open up, to show depth, to prove they're emotionally mature. But the truth is, she already knows you're mature. What she's trying to see is if you're still easily influenced. That question is not about your type. It's about your control. Because here's what most older men don't realize: younger women are incredibly perceptive. They know how to read behavior, tone, micro-expressions. They've grown up in a generation that studies psychology without even trying. Through social media, through patterns of communication, through endless exposure to emotional analysis. So when she asks that question, she's not seeking information. She's scanning for weakness. She's checking if you'll start explaining yourself like every other man she's ever met. And when you start describing what you like in a woman, kindness, loyalty, humor, honesty, what you think is transparency, she interprets as predictability. You've just handed her the playbook. You've given her the exact roadmap to become the version of a woman you'll chase. For a little while, she'll reflect that image right back to you. She'll mirror your language, your values, your emotional tone, and you'll think, wow, this one gets me. But it's not real understanding, it's adaptation, it's performance, because you've revealed the code before she's earned it. See, women don't test your answers, they test your awareness. They want to see if you can sense the test itself. That's the real measure of masculine energy. Not aggression, not dominance, but awareness. A man who's self-aware doesn't play into emotional traps. He observes them calmly. He doesn't get defensive or flattered by curiosity. He knows curiosity can also be control. That's why the right response isn't an answer. It's a presence. When she asks, "What are you looking for?" and you simply smile, pause, and say, "I'll know it when I see it," you shift everything. You turn the test back into a mirror. Now she's the one wondering, what does he mean? What does he see in me? The frame has reversed, and that's power. This isn't about manipulation. It's about alignment. You're not withholding to play games. You're protecting the gravity of who you are. Because when a man has lived, experienced, and learned, his standards aren't meant to be discussed like a shopping list. They're meant to be felt through his behavior. You don't tell a woman what you're looking for. You show her through consistency, calmness, and boundaries. And when you do, you force her to rise to that level instead of molding herself to your description. You have to understand, younger women are often fascinated by older men, not because of their words, but because of their restraint. It's that grounded energy that says, I've seen too much to be easily moved. That quiet, measured confidence is magnetic. It doesn't chase validation, it radiates certainty. When you answer her question, you reduce that energy. But when you don't, when you hold your composure and let silence speak, she feels the depth she can't immediately reach. That's what keeps her drawn to you. That's what keeps her respect intact. The deeper truth is this: the moment you start explaining yourself, you're unconsciously asking to be understood. But the man who needs to be understood is already negotiating for emotional approval. You don't need to be understood by a woman you've just met. You need to observe her. You need to see what her curiosity reveals about her intentions. If she pushes for answers, it's not about connection, it's about control. If she respects your boundaries and enjoys the unknown, that's emotional maturity. That's compatibility. You can tell everything about a woman's character by how she reacts to your silence. Does she get uncomfortable, try to fill the gap, demand explanations, or does she lean back, intrigued, letting you lead? That's the difference between someone who seeks power over you and someone who seeks partnership with you. So the next time a younger woman asks that question, remember, you're not being interviewed, you're being studied. Don't give her a script. Don't let her decode your desires before you've seen who she truly is. Protect your depth. Guard your truth, because mystery isn't about hiding, it's about honoring your value. And when you learn to do that, when you master the art of responding without revealing, she'll stop seeing you as another man to impress and start seeing you as the man she can't quite figure out. And that's exactly how attraction should begin. Not with words, but with wonder. Most men have been told that openness builds connection. That if you're honest, if you communicate your feelings, if you share your truth, people will respect you for it. And yes, in the right context, with the right woman, openness is powerful. But when it's given too early, it's not a bridge. It's a trap. It's like giving someone the keys to your home before you've even learned their intentions. You might think you're creating closeness, but what you're really doing is surrendering control. Older men, especially, fall into this illusion because they equate emotional expression with emotional intelligence. They've matured, they've grown, they've learned to be honest. And so when a younger woman shows interest, they believe openness is the right move. But what they forget is that not everyone deserves access to your emotional truth, especially not someone who hasn't earned it. Openness without discernment isn't vulnerability, it's exposure. You see, there's a psychological difference between being transparent and being understood. Transparency means revealing who you are. Understanding means someone has taken the time to see you without you having to over-explain. When you start explaining yourself too soon, what kind of woman you want, what kind of relationship you dream of, what values you hold, you turn something sacred into something transactional. You give her data points. You make it easy for her to perform the version of femininity you idealize. And don't misunderstand this. Not every woman who does this is malicious. Sometimes it's subconscious. Women, especially younger ones, are deeply intuitive. They can sense what energy attracts you, and they adapt to it almost effortlessly. They know how to mirror your emotions, your language, even your values, because they want to be desired. They want to be chosen. But when that connection is built on adaptation instead of authenticity, it doesn't last. because what's being loved isn't her, it's the reflection of you. That's why revealing too much, too soon, always backfires. Because the more you tell her about what you want, the less she has to reveal about who she truly is. You think you're connecting, but you're actually being managed. You've given her the cheat code before the game even started. And when she eventually stops mirroring you, you feel betrayed. But in reality, you betrayed yourself by making it too easy for her to wear your ideal as a mask. Real connection doesn't come from spilling everything. It comes from allowing mystery to test curiosity. When a woman has to wonder what drives you, when she has to earn your truth, she develops respect. That respect becomes attraction. But when you overshare, you strip the interaction of its tension. You remove the chase, the intrigue, the depth that makes her look at you and think, there's something about him I can't quite figure out. That's what most men don't understand. Mystery is not manipulation. Mystery is self-respect. It's the awareness that your inner world is sacred and not everyone should have access to it. You have to observe first. You have to let her actions reveal her nature before your words reveal your heart. Because if she's only interested in knowing you to control the dynamic, the moment you stop giving, she'll lose interest. But if she's genuinely drawn to who you are, she'll stay curious even when you say less. So when you're asked those early questions, what do you like in a woman? What are you looking for? You don't owe an answer. You owe yourself discernment. You don't need to fill the silence with explanations. Sometimes silence is the greatest teacher. It exposes intentions faster than any speech. Because when you say nothing, you give her room to reveal who she truly is. Does she get irritated that you're not opening up fast enough? Does she withdraw when you don't feed her validation? Or does she lean in, intrigued, wanting to discover your truth naturally? Her reaction tells you everything. Being open is beautiful, but it's only powerful when given to someone who's safe. You can't keep offering your depth to people who are only swimming in the shallow end of life. You can't keep teaching people how to love you when they're only here to learn how to use you. A woman who's truly mature doesn't rush your vulnerability. She earns it through consistency, through respect, through patience. And when she does, that's when your openness becomes a bridge, not a weapon against yourself. So understand this. Your silence in the beginning isn't coldness, it's wisdom. It's the mark of a man who values his energy and doesn't give away his soul for momentary connection. Because a man who guards his inner world doesn't repel love, he attracts the kind that's real. And if you remember nothing else, remember this: the man who reveals everything too soon teaches others how to take him for granted. But the man who waits, who observes, who speaks with purpose, he teaches others how to value him. That's the kind of man she never forgets. That's the kind of energy that doesn't chase attention. It commands respect. There's a reason silence makes people uncomfortable. It exposes everything words are trying to hide. Most men think attraction is built by constant effort, by talking, explaining, and proving their worth. But true masculine energy doesn't shout. It doesn't chase validation through expression. It commands presence through stillness. And this is where most older men lose their power with younger women. They confuse communication with connection, forgetting that silence often speaks louder than anything they could ever say. When you respond with emotional silence, you're not ignoring her. You're communicating something much deeper, that you're not easily moved, that your emotions have discipline. You're not available for every question, every reaction, every test. And that calm energy, that stillness, is what creates intrigue. Younger women are used to men who overreact, who overshare, who compete for attention. So when she meets a man who is comfortable with quiet confidence, she feels something she can't fully explain. It's stability, it's mystery, it's leadership without effort. You have to understand. The world has conditioned people to talk more, post more, explain more. Everyone's broadcasting themselves, trying to be seen and understood. But the most magnetic people, the ones who draw others in effortlessly, are those who don't need to be seen to feel significant. They carry an inner peace that doesn't depend on approval. When you can sit in silence, unbothered, you communicate that your worth doesn't come from reaction. It comes from awareness. Younger women are deeply drawn to that because it's rare. They live in a fast, noisy world of constant validation. When they meet a man who's emotionally silent yet fully present, it's like meeting someone from another era, someone who doesn't need noise to be noticed. Your silence becomes a mirror. It makes her reflect on herself, her words, her motives. She starts to question her own emotional patterns. That's when attraction deepens, not because you're playing games, but because your calm reveals contrast. And here's what most people never realize: silence is not emptiness. It's strength under control. It's self-awareness without the need for display. When you hold your tongue and let silence fill the space, it doesn't mean you have nothing to say. It means you have the discipline to say only what matters. That restraint is power. It shows that you don't speak to win. You speak with purpose. When a younger woman tries to draw you into emotional chaos to see if she can shake your peace, your reaction will define how she perceives you. If you react instantly, you've given her the emotional control. If you pause, observe, and stay composed, you've taught her something profound: that she can't define your mood, that she doesn't have access to your emotional center until she earns it. You see, in relationships, the one who stays calm holds the power. Not because calmness dominates the other person, but because it refuses to be controlled. Your silence is not withdrawal, it's clarity. It's saying, I'm not reacting because I'm thinking. That kind of silence commands respect. It changes how people speak to you. It forces them to measure their words more carefully because they sense that you don't tolerate emotional noise. And if you pay attention, silence also teaches you. When you stop trying to fill every gap with words, you begin to hear the truth beneath what people say. You start to notice tone, energy, intention. You begin to feel what's real and what's performative. That's the power of being quiet. It turns you into a listener, and the best listeners always understand far more than the loudest talkers ever will. A younger woman may initially test your patience with questions, games, or emotional reactions. But when she sees you handle everything with calm, thoughtful composure, something shifts inside her. She starts to trust you. Not because of what you said, but because of what you didn't. She feels safe around your silence because it doesn't judge, doesn't react, doesn't compete. It just is. That's what emotional authority feels like, not dominance, but grounded control. It's the quiet confidence that says, I know who I am, and I don't need to prove it. And ironically, that's when she'll start opening up to you even more, because your silence doesn't make her feel ignored, it makes her feel seen in a way words never could. So understand this: silence is not weakness, it's emotional mastery. It's the ability to create tension without chaos, connection without explanation. When you can hold that energy, you become unforgettable, not because you said something impressive, but because you carried yourself in a way that made her question everything she thought she knew about men. The next time you feel the urge to explain, to fill the silence, to prove your value through words, stop, breathe, look at her. Let your energy do the speaking, because the man who can stay silent with confidence doesn't just win her attention, he wins her respect. And respect, once earned, is far more powerful than attraction. It lasts longer, it goes deeper, and it turns a fleeting moment into lasting influence. So learn the art of emotional silence, because the man who can master it doesn't chase peace, he becomes it. Younger women aren't drawn to older men for the reasons people love to assume. It's not the money, not the stability, not even the experience. Those are surface level assumptions made by people who've never understood psychology. The real attraction runs deeper. It's emotional authority. It's that rare, calm energy of a man who has lived through storms, fallen, rebuilt himself, and now moves through life with a sense of grounded certainty that can't be faked. That's what captivates her. That's what makes her stop and pay attention. The quiet dominance of a man who doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. When you walk into a room, you don't need to be loud to be noticed. You don't need to talk about what you've achieved. Your presence speaks before you do. Younger women sense that difference instantly. They can feel the weight of your energy before you even open your mouth. Because emotional authority is felt, not declared. It's a vibration of discipline, restraint, and self-trust. And when a man carries that, it changes how a woman behaves around him. She softens, she listens, she adjusts her tone, not out of fear, but out of respect. That's what she's looking for. Not control, but containment. A man whose energy is so steady that her emotions can rest in it. A man who doesn't get reactive when tested. Someone who doesn't need to outtalk her to be right. You see, younger women live in a world of emotional chaos. Social media, shallow relationships, endless options. Everything is noise. And when she meets a man who moves slower, speaks less, listens more, she feels something she hasn't felt before. Safety. It's not physical protection she craves, it's emotional protection. And that comes from authority, not arrogance. You don't get emotional authority by age alone. You get it by mastering your inner world. It's the result of being hurt and not becoming bitter. It's choosing wisdom over revenge, self-control over validation. That's why younger women are drawn to older men. Because that kind of balance is foreign to them. Most men their age are still trying to prove themselves. They mistake attention for admiration, validation for love, and performance for power. But an older man who has outgrown those illusions carries a completely different frequency. He's not trying to impress. He's expressing a deeper truth through how he lives. When a younger woman senses that kind of man, she's not attracted to his age. She's attracted to his composure. His emotional tone is steady. His reactions are measured. He doesn't fall apart when challenged, and he doesn't rush when he feels attraction. He's learned that control is the foundation of confidence. And when a woman feels that kind of control, she naturally feels safe to let her feminine energy unfold. Because where there is emotional leadership, there is trust. But here's where many men go wrong. They mistake emotional authority for dominance. They think being in control means being cold or distant. It doesn't. True authority is compassionate. It's the ability to understand without absorbing, to empathize without being manipulated, to lead without forcing. The man who can hold that balance becomes magnetic, not because he demands attention, but because his peace stands out in a world addicted to noise. Think about it. A younger woman is used to being the emotional center of every dynamic. Men chase her, compliment her, react to her. But when she meets a man who isn't moved by her charm, who doesn't flinch when she tests him, something shifts in her psychology. She starts to respect him. She starts to question herself. Why can't I get to him the way I can get to others? And that's when the attraction deepens. Because respect is the soil where real desire grows. Your power doesn't come from chasing women or controlling outcomes. It comes from mastering your state. The man who can stay calm when others lose composure, who can stay kind without being soft, who can stay firm without being cruel. That's the man who commands respect. That's the energy that makes a younger woman feel both drawn and grounded in your presence. She won't even be able to explain it. It's not logic, it's biology. The feminine naturally surrenders to grounded masculine energy. So, if you want to understand why younger women are drawn to older men, stop looking at the surface. It's not about resources, it's about resonance. Emotional authority isn't built overnight. It's earned through years of silence, discipline, and self-awareness. It's the result of learning to lead yourself before you ever try to lead someone else. And when you embody that energy, you don't need to chase, you don't need to convince, and you don't need to explain. You simply exist in a way that makes others adjust around you. That's the quiet power of a man who knows who he is. That's what she feels when she looks at you. The rare strength of emotional authority. And remember, a man who can lead his emotions will never be led by someone else's. That's the difference between being desired for a moment and being respected for a lifetime. Predictability is the silent killer of attraction. The moment a woman knows exactly what you're going to say, how you'll react, and what you'll tolerate, she stops feeling that spark. She stops wondering. And when there's no wonder, there's no pull. That's what most older men never realize. Their kindness, their honesty, their consistency, while valuable, can quickly turn into predictability if not balanced with mystery and self-respect. Because no matter how emotionally evolved you are, if you become too easy to read, you become too easy to forget. Younger women, in particular, are drawn to contrast. They're drawn to complexity. To the man who makes them feel safe yet slightly uncertain, who's kind but not naive, who's available yet detached. It's not that they want confusion, they want depth. They want to feel that there's more to you than what meets the eye. And you can't create that depth through rehearsed answers or emotional overexposure. You create it through controlled unpredictability, through energy that keeps her intrigued, guessing, and emotionally invested. The problem is that most men try to earn connection by being overly transparent. They think that if they show their good heart, their intentions, their plans, she'll stay. But what they don't see is that predictability kills tension. It removes the emotional polarity that drives attraction, because attraction isn't logical, it's psychological. It thrives on uncertainty, curiosity, and a sense of discovery. When she feels she's already figured you out, her instincts stop chasing. She may still appreciate you, but she no longer feels you. So how do you stay unpredictable without playing games? The answer lies in evolution. A man who's constantly growing, who's always refining himself, remains interesting. You don't need to hide, you need to evolve faster than she can define you. That means never letting your identity freeze. One day, you're deep in your purpose. The next, you're exploring something new. You have layers: emotional, intellectual, spiritual. You have direction, but not rigidity. That's what keeps her attention. The realization that she'll never completely know you because you're always expanding. Being unpredictable doesn't mean being inconsistent. It means not being emotionally owned by anyone's expectations. It means you respond instead of react. You act from intention, not impulse. You choose when to engage and when to walk away. You don't explain every move, because the more you justify yourself, the more power you give away. Predictable men explain. Powerful men observe. Younger women test predictability unconsciously. They'll ask questions designed to see if you'll bend, if you'll seek approval, if you'll change your tone to please them. But when you stay composed, when you answer with measured clarity or sometimes with silence, you reset the dynamic. You become the emotional standard in the interaction. She learns that you can't be swayed by charm or emotion, and that's where respect begins. Predictability also shows up in your patterns. When you respond to texts immediately, when you overinvest after a small compliment, when you chase after pulling back. Every action that shows emotional desperation makes you readable, and once she can read you, she knows how to control you. But when you stay consistent in your energy, not too quick, not too eager, she feels something different. She feels that your attention has value, and anything valuable demands respect. There's a psychological truth here that most men overlook. Mystery keeps the feminine energy alive. It keeps her imagination engaged. The more she wonders what you're thinking, the more emotionally connected she becomes. The man who says less, who reveals slowly, who lets her discover him over time. That's the man who builds deep attraction. You're not hiding, you're pacing the connection. You're letting it breathe instead of forcing it. Younger women don't want a man who gives them everything on day one. They want to, earn your world. They want to feel chosen after they've proven their consistency, not rewarded for curiosity. That's how you build real value. By making access to your inner world something sacred, something that must be earned through patience, respect, and effort. So don't let predictability drain your power. Let her wonder what you'll say next. Let her feel that she doesn't fully have you, not because you're distant, but because you're whole. You belong to your path, your purpose, your peace first. That's what makes her crave your presence, knowing she can never fully own it. And remember this, mystery doesn't mean manipulation. It means maintaining depth. It's not about pretending. It's about protecting what's real. Because once you give everything away too soon, you stop being a mystery and start being a memory. So stay unpredictable, stay grounded, keep evolving, because the moment she realizes she can never fully define you, that's the moment you become unforgettable,